Hi, Phil Turek here. I'm in Cerritos Park, California, standing in front of a bronze statue of Paul Revere. On April 18th, 1775, he did his famous midnight ride, warning future Americans about an approaching British army. I want you to watch the 60-second clip that comes right after this, where I explain the rise of civilization. Pay careful attention to each of those images. And this episode is going to be all about the fall of civilization. All right, so look at it carefully.
In the beginning there was agony. Under the empires of old, the strong did what they willed, and the weak suffered what they must. But over the centuries, people built a strength of civilization, constitutions to restrain power, international alliances to promote peace, legal systems to peacefully settle disputes, scientific institutions to cure disease, news outlets to advance public understanding, charitable organizations to ease suffering, businesses to build wealth and spread prosperity, and universities to preserve, transmit, and advance the glories of our way of life. These institutions make our lives sweet, loving, and creative, rather than nasty, brutish, and short. Civilization is about learning, compassion, scientific wonder, the pursuit of justice. I view myself as being a citizen against tyranny. I'm Phil Turek, and I approve of this message.
All right, so this is Martians on Earth, Season 3, Episode 6, The Fall of Civilization. I'm Phil Turek, and it's Heritage Park in the city of Cerritos that I'm in, not Cerritos Park. Okay, having to fix that up. Let's get through several definitions. You can go on Google and do this yourself. What is the definition of a civilization? A human society with advanced development characterized with features like a stable food supply, government, complex culture, written language, and technology. Those last two, I'm less certain are requirements when I think about the Six Nations of the Iroquois. Also, I have a terrible time editing, so I'm thinking I'm just going to put all the PowerPoint slides that I would be referring to after I get done talking. That, or else I'm going to have to splice into them, and it's a little bit disjointed. More work for me. Now I'd rather have it more work for you. All right? All right. Next. Civilization is the opposite of barbarism and chaos. Next definition. Barbarism means extreme cruelty or brutality. And chaos means complete disorder and confusion. All right. Next. What is a demagogue? Well, funny you should ask. A political leader who seeks support by appealing to the desires and prejudices of ordinary people rather than by using rational argument. A despot is a ruler or other person who holds absolute power, typically one who exercises it in a cruel or oppressive way. And tyranny, in case you weren't sure, is cruel and oppressive government or rule. Cruel, unreasonable, or arbitrary use of power or control. Wow. So armed with those definitions, there's one more I want to share with you. So when I did my little spiel about the rise of civilization, I substituted one word from David Brooks' original opinion piece. I put in the word strength of civilization because I wasn't that familiar with the word sinew, S-I-N-E-W. So that was a big mistake on my part because knowing exactly the word that he chose is rather important. So sinew means a piece of tough fibrous tissue uniting muscle to bone or bone to bone, a tendon or ligament. Also, second definition, the parts of a structure, system, or thing that give it strength and bind it together. So that is really important. Now, what I would like you to do is study the PowerPoint slide called The Rise of Civilization. In that little ad, it starts off with an image of Julius Caesar's bust on the left. And one of the first things I say is that, okay, in the beginning there was agony. Under the empires of old, the strong did what they willed, and the weak suffered what they must. And the third image on the right, so first one was Julius Caesar, middle one was Genghis Khan, and the one on the right just shows a whole mass of Roman slaves busy doing heavy construction work. And it's a very cropped image. If I didn't crop it so much, you would see there were many more slaves involved. And I know it's hard to read on that image. But over the centuries, people built the sinews of civilization, not just the strength, but the sinews. So that is a connection between all these different things. The first one was constitutions to restrain power. And what I want you to do is to apply each of those images to current events here in our federal government. Because right now, in less than about 7 hours, the Republic, as we've known it for many years, is going to shut down completely. Well, mostly completely. So April 18th, 1775, Paul Revere did his famous Midnight Ride. That was 250 years ago and less than half a year later. Today is the last day of September 2025. At 12:01 midnight East Coast time tonight, the federal government goes whoosh. And that's something like 89% of the employees in the Environmental Protection Agency are gone. 87% of the Education Department, 81% of the Commerce Department, 76% of the Labor Department, 62% of the State Department. Gone, 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 gone. So for all practical purposes, this is really tonight marking the end of our republic. And what comes next is kind of dark and not good. So the first little image that I replaced Julius Caesar with was an image of the Constitution of the United States. And here in Heritage Park, if I were to pan the camera, off there is a replica of Independence Hall where it was signed, and over there it says Charleston Bridge, and then other stuff. Actually, this is my first time here. But, okay, so Congress, constitutions to restrain power. Our Congress is now polarized and paralyzed, and it's going to stop. It has stopped completely functioning, and tonight at midnight is just officially dead. That's on us. Don't blame your congressman. Don't blame anyone else. The first three words of the Constitution of the United States says, "We the people." And I'm here all fired up today because I failed to exercise my right. I have the right to, make government in the image I want it to be. And for over a month now, I've been trying to recruit 2 Democrats and me, a Republican, to form a little bipartisan group that goes and reads Senate Bill 5335 from the 117th Congress, 35-page document. Its sole purpose was to end gerrymandering nationwide. And then the 3 of us respectfully, peacefully, quietly, serenely become first responders, visit my particular congressman because he's Democrat, 2 Democrats, 1 Republican. That's the ratio and that's the size, just 3 people. Just drop by his office, tell the staffer what we think of that particular bill, and maybe advocate that he resurrect it and introduce it. And this time, we're going to try to have enough social network using modern technology to actually push it over the finish line, overcome filibusters, overcome the speaker resisting to do it, overcome a presidential veto, and get it enacted into law. The very first gerrymander nuke, as I refer to it, was dropped on the home state of Massachusetts for Paul Revere in 1812, 6 years before he passed away. I don't know how he reacted to it. I imagine if he were alive today, he'd be like the last of my uncles who, before he, lost it and passed away, one of the last conversations we had about anything like this was, he doesn't recognize our country anymore. It has changed so much in his lifetime and in my lifetime. We are no longer the Republic as of 12:01 a.m. Eastern Time tonight. We are finally morphed enough that we should declare ourselves to be a competitive authoritarian regime. Wow, that's a mouthful. So this whole episode is about us. We the people, how that was the linchpin for holding this government together, and we just got lazy and said, government should be on its own in the background. I've got my mom to take care of, and I've got appointments to make with my own doctors, and I've got this and that. So I failed to pull together my own little team and get them to actually do something before tonight's deadline. So It's on all of us. International alliances to promote peace. I replaced the image of Genghis Khan with an image of the United Nations. So, here it is, 21st century. Have you ever butt dialed anyone? Ever? That's where you put your phone in your back pocket and you discover that it hit something and it dialed someone you didn't intend to dial. So, when our glorious leader did his ascension up the escalator to address the assembled, leaders of the free world or the entire world, the videographer going up the escalator in front of him managed to butt dial the safety switch on the escalator. But our leader, and I'm going to use this to represent him, leader, is accusing the entire world of sinister plot against him. Wow. Okay. That's our leader. And, so, and by the way, we have now not paid 2 years of our dues to support the United Nations. So it is one of the things that is being dismantled. So civilization is going away. And what is replacing it? Barbarism and chaos. The only things that our particular leader can actually understand very well. And I've explained why in the past. All right, so what else? Legal systems to peacefully settle disputes. Our leader is experienced with over 4,000 lawsuits, and that's before he became, well, they don't even, his own followers don't even call him POTUS anymore. That's not good enough. Being called the President of the United States? No, no, no. They've promoted him internally in their communications. They now refer to him as the God Emperor of the United States. That's who our leader is, the God Emperor of the United States. Wow. And he's experienced with over 4,000 lawsuits before he became the 45th president. And, what does he do? He sues people for sport. He sues people to stifle free speech, the free press, lawyers, anyone who persecuted him. He's got a list of political enemies that just won't quit. And sooner or later, all of us are going to end up on that list. So I'm not sure why so many of you thought so highly of him in the first place. So legal systems are being shredded. Our Justice Department, our Supreme Court, we look at them now and say, gosh, they're not quite as unbiased as we expected them to be. Scientific institutions to cure disease. Right. So one big reason why our leader wasn't reelected was because how badly we felt he botched the COVID pandemic. President Obama had gone through an exercise, laid out an insurance policy that said, look, if a pandemic ever breaks out, follow these steps so it doesn't become as deadly as it did. And for months, our leader just said, oh, it's a hoax. Those Democrats, they're just, oh boy. So that's how he got voted out of office. And how did he respond to us booting him out? Oh, Mama, which is MAGA. Mama, they rigged it. Oh, it was stolen from me. Oh, crocodile tears. If you're in that cult, your full-time job is to cater to a very, very needy child. I don't know why you chose to be in that cult, but you're in it. So you get to, coddle to his needs, which are never going to end because his ego can't mature. Yikes. So scientific institutions to cure disease, who did he put in charge of health and human services? Someone to learn from the mistakes, or someone who's now in place that he can use as a scapegoat the next time a pandemic comes along? News outlets to advance public understanding. Oh yeah, elevating people off of Fox News. Fox News has a business model that says, we maximize profits when we promote conspiracy theories. Yeah. Otherwise, he calls everyone else fake news, which is really news about a fake. All right. He shut down NPR. Anything that is, reliable, objective, unbiased, no, that's got to be called fake news. Yeah, okay. Charitable organizations to ease suffering. Oh yeah, terminating U.S. aid to, the third world, ending school lunches program here at schools, businesses to build wealth and spread prosperity. Okay, research shows autocrats are not very good at managing economies. Their policy making tends to be erratic. Think about tariffs. As democratic institutions decline, I'm quoting some articles here. gross domestic product per capita is 10% lower after 15 years being in a competitive authoritarianism as opposed to being into a free and vibrant democratic society. And then it gets worse, 20% lower in the long run. So why are businesses all in favor of our leader? Okay? We've done a whole bunch of stuff that just we should have thought through a little more carefully, and that's on us. Okay? Yikes. There was something else I was going to say about businesses. Oh, yeah. So, for example, the big, beautiful bill takes money from the poor and gives it to the rich. Why? You might think about this one a little bit. Maybe because our leader understands that the larger the wealth gap, correction, wealth gap between the ultra rich, and you should read Bernie Sanders' recent article on that one, and the poor, wow, then the more easy it is to keep society controlled by an autocrat or despot in this case. All right. And there's another effect to it, and that is look, many business owners are super proud that they pulled themselves up by their bootstraps. They built their company and they hire employees with fair wages and good benefits, and they try to promote this prosperity that was mentioned in David Brooks' opinion piece. Yeah, our leader, I think his motive is look, by tainting the wealthy with money taken from the poor, it sort of stains their own moral character. It messes with their own moral compass. I think that's more of the motivation for him than just giving even more wealth to the wealthy, right? Yikes. What was next on that list? Universities to preserve, transmit, and advance the glories of our way of life. Right. So, how is he handling our universities? What has he done to Harvard, Columbia? What is he doing here and there and there? Canceling visas, canceling research grants, the lifeblood of most of these institutions who are trying to cure diseases. So, when you put that perspective on what is being done, does it really fit with the narration that says, oh, this is all woke, liberal stuff, progressive, it's terrible. We're conservatives. We are getting us back to making America great again. Now think about what's actually happening compared to that cover story. What does it mean to be woke? Basically, I would say being woke just means being civilized. For example, today, the big meeting of all the top brass from the United States around the world in one place. If you look at the photographs of who's in that audience, there was one blonde woman in.
I see in my video, I never did explain why I brought up the blonde woman in that meeting. So just to be complete, I was trying to make a point about DEI, diversity, equity, inclusion, that to understand it better, you need to realize that not everyone starts from the same point. There are people who start off carrying white privilege cards that say, oh, I was born with a silver spoon in my mouth and I have a bone spur in my foot and I deserve, all the rewards that go with being at a high starting point. Whereas for many people, there are obstacles that they have to overcome. Their skin color, their hair color, their gender, all these factors give them additional challenges and obstacles to get to the same point as someone who starts off with a white privilege card. And so DEI is just recognizing that the person who starts off holding that card might not have much capacity to go any further, whereas the person who had to overcome more challenges and obstacles to get to that same level has already demonstrated that they are better qualified to make further advancements from that point. And when I look at that blonde woman in that sea of old white faces, I just could believe that she would be singled out and booted out purely based on the fact that she's a blonde woman.
There. And the rest, all old white guys. Maybe one other token colored person or so. Our leader, another interesting article I read about him, is that whenever he meets someone, he has to make an appraisal of them based on what he can see. Oh, you look like a fat, ugly cow. Oh, you look really hot. Okay? He can't look inside of a person. And after I read that article, I was wondering, well, I'm Roman Catholic. How does St. Peter do it? How does he, when you get up there before the pearly gates, how does he know which one of us deserves to go in and which one of us goes down the other way? And when I did my Keenan annual training to be a substitute teacher across the street here, it said there's 20 protected classes of human beings that you need to not prejudge. Here's the list: national origin, immigration status, religion, age, sex, gender, gender identity, gender expression, race, ethnicity, color, medical condition, genetic information, ancestry, sexual orientation, marital status, physical disability, mental disability, pregnancy, military status, or veteran status. Roughly 20. Some of them kind of sound like the same thing. Okay, I don't think St. Peter can see any of that stuff. I think he can only see what's inside of us, and I'm going to call it our internal radiance. When we're born, we have that little bit of light inside of us. And as we go through life, thanks to, the powers that be, we have all these opportunities to get endorphin release by doing noble things, by doing good things, by helping others, feeding the poor, housing, housing the unhoused, clothing the naked. That's why they're always going to be with us, so that we have that way of brightening, making our own internal radiance healthier, stronger, brighter. And I'm not sure, haven't been there, but I'm guessing St. Peter has just some sort of meter that measures how bright your internal radiance is when you get there. Okay, this is a simple illustration of what I call the St. Peter test. When you're born, you have a certain amount of internal radiance, and your mom can see it and she loves you. As you do good deeds, you get endorphin releases, and that makes your internal radiance healthier and stronger, and it glows brighter. Now, there's another way that you can get endorphin releases, and that is by acting godlike in a vengeful way and being cruel and being oppressive on other people and saying, "Oh, I'm like God. I get to, have my wrath go everywhere." Well, you still get endorphin releases, but what happens is your internal radiance is being sickened and made weaker. And so on the inside, if we could see what you look like, we would say, oh, that looks kind of ugly or anemic. But when you have a healthy, strong internal radiance, when we see what you look like inside, we say, oh, you are shining bright, you are beautiful. All right, so there's my simple illustration using this kerosene lamp from when we had power outages back on the farm. All right, get there. Now, there's another way that you can get endorphin release. And sadly, I think that's where our leader is. Because, as I've explained in previous episodes, he seems to have one or two organs that are undersized relative to the rest of the population. No, up here, and 7% of the population has it. If you believe that this describes him, from his point of view, it's all about me. Would you think that that characterizes our leader? I'm willing to hurt you to get what I want. Second characteristic. Third one is, I feel no empathy for you and no remorse when I victimize you. If you think those three psychological traits describe our leader, then he is classified as being part of a dark triad, where he has an organ or two up here that is undersized, and therefore he's not really able to distinguish right from wrong. He doesn't have a functioning moral compass. So he's just surviving the only way he knows how, and that is from the viewpoint of barbarism and chaos. He needs chaos to cover up incompetence or corruption, and because he doesn't know how to solve a problem. Okay? if he encounters someone who has an idea or a thought or an expression, probably like this video, that he doesn't understand, can't follow, he'll just have to dismiss it with the label sick. That person must be sick. That way, he doesn't have to explain why he doesn't understand it or what his better viewpoint is on it. He can just, maintain control over mama, and, for him, life is pretty good. Okay, so what have we got? Combating wokeness, these are my notes, means replacing civilization with barbarism and chaos. Gosh, I think I said that. And right now, the stalemate in Congress. Oh, Republicans versus Democrats. I personally think the Democrats could have picked a better topic to, better hill to die on, as they put it. I think they really should have said what I was trying to get introduced. They should really address gerrymandering, because it's like a plague. Started in his lifetime, and it spread like a cancer. And today, thanks to gerrymandering, extremists make it through primaries for their political parties. And so that's what we voters are left with as a choice. One extremist for this party or the other extremist for that party. Whereas I've been knocking on doors. I'm trying to do a political campaign to run for Congress. And while I'm on that topic, let me do an aside on that. Once I become a member of Congress, I'm going to have less freedom to speak my mind than I have today. I will have less power to change the government than I have today. And you should realize I'm talking about we the people. This past weekend, I was talking with people from Spokane, Washington, and Chino and Santa Barbara, Chino Hills, all these different locations. If I were an elected member of Congress, 47th District here in California, then I would be expected to stay in my lane. I don't get to talk with those constituents. They are, represented by someone else. But as a private citizen, a social activist, I can go talk to anyone I want. We have more freedom right now to straighten out Congress than a congressperson has. We failed Paul Revere. Okay, so pretty iffy whether or not I'll end up doing a campaign for Congress after all. If gerrymandering isn't passed, okay, gerrymandering reform. So I think the Democrats might have been better off trying to just resurrect Senate Bill 5335, 117th Congress, and make that the hill to die on, because so many of us are tired of being political zombies, where, oh, we've been gerrymandered. Oh, we no longer have political representation, but we still have to pay our taxes. What would Paul Revere say about us? This is the 21st century. We're supposed to be literate. We're supposed to be we the people. And we're failing him. Okay, so don't go blaming the guy we elected. We knew what he was like when he went up there. All right, I have what? Oh yeah. I have pretty much run out of all of my notes. So, there. Please, we're going into a dark time now. Literally, at midnight tonight, the federal government shuts down. Our republic essentially is gone. To build a civilization that replaces the barbarism, the chaos that is now a competitive authoritarian regime, we have to rebuild the institutions. It has been pointed out, that's what sinew means instead of strength, that we make a connection. The news organizations, the charities, the universities, those are not unrelated, distinct groups that are getting, whack-a-mole by our leader. We have to work together. The estimates are 3.5% of the population has to actively, non-violently agitate for change. So advocate for change, I should say. The studies all show if you go violent on this, the odds of you being successful are cut in half. Violent agitation does not work nearly as well as nonviolent advocating. So we're working on what? We're working on our moral compass. Who are we as a nation? Are we as a nation in favor of barbarism, in favor of chaos, in favor of cruelty, in favor of oppression of the many by the few? Because that's what gerrymandering opened up for us. Or are we as a nation in favor of building up the institutions of civilization? Do we want our civilization to have a functioning moral compass that tells right from wrong, that knows helping the poor get on their feet is a good thing, reducing the wealth gap is a good thing, caring for human beings throughout the planet is a good thing? I'm Phil Turek, and I approve this message.